Good morning, everyone. So wonderful to see you all here. It is thrilling to see the future leaders of our industry here at the Hunter Conference. So welcome, and thank you for waking up early to be here this morning at such an early conference session. My name is Sarah Coswith. I'm Vice President of Workforce Development at the AHLA Foundation, and we are so proud to be delivering the Castell College program here at the Hunter Conference for the first time. So you are our inaugural group, so we hope you have a fantastic experience here with us this morning. And we hope that you leave here feeling really empowered as you launch into your future careers within the hospitality industry, and really inspired by the women that you're going to be hearing from this morning. Number one, I would be remiss if I didn't express my hope that you all have already put in your applications for scholarships through the foundation for your future education. If you don't know about our scholarship program, it's an annual program that we offer through the AHLA Foundation. The portal has closed for the year, but if you missed out for this year, please make sure you explore those opportunities for next year. We hope that you are going to be making great connections. Hopefully you already did before the program kicked off already this morning with breakfast, and that you'll be sure to make connections with our panelists as the program continues, and even after. The brochure that you collected on your way in has those QR codes that you can link in with these women and continue that networking as you progress, not only through the conference, but into the future. For those in the room that may be interested, women in the industry, in becoming a future Castell College panelist, we hope that you will connect with us to make sure that we put you into that mix. We are always looking for future panelists. And for any educators that are in the room that would like to bring Castell College to your campus, either in person or virtually, we invite you to connect with us as well to make sure that we are expanding our program. And I would also like to just take a moment to thank our amazing Castell College volunteers who make this program possible. So I'd like to personally thank some women in the audience. Fern Cantor, who is here, who is a great support, and Deb Cox, who's amazing as well, helping to put these sessions together, and Lan Elliott. I didn't see you this morning, but hopefully you're here to be thanked as well. And of course, the originator of this program, who without her support and guidance, this would not be possible, Peggy Berg. She's here among us, and again, she's sort of the brain trust that has helped to create this amazing program. So thanks to all of these women. And I will turn it over without further ado to Andrea Belfonte, who will be your moderator today. So thank you all for being here.
Great, thank you, Sarah. So we have, according to this giant clock in front of us, 55 minutes and 19 seconds. And you all have...
No pressure.
Yeah, no pressure, guys. And you all have 4 amazing panelists today, so we're going to jump in. The only thing I will add to what was just said is that I would strongly, strongly, strongly encourage you all to go to AHLAfoundation.org, and then under career development, you can learn more about Castell and the research and programs that they do. The research is really unbelievable, so please check it out. There's also, you can learn more about the programs they do to help develop women in leadership positions in hospitality. So be sure to check those things out. And now we're gonna jump in. So I'd love for you all to just tell us who you are and what you do and where you live maybe. And Ilana, I'm gonna start with you.
Sure, so my name is Ilana Alberico. I'm the president of Spa Space with Arch Amenities Group. Arch Amenities Group is the largest management company of amenities, and I live in Atlanta. I have 2 kids. I'm really happy to be here.
Great.
I'm going to correct one thing. There are 5 extraordinary women on the panel, not 4, Andrea. I'm Rachel Humphrey. My title is officially retiree, but for purposes today, I'm the founder of the Women in Hospitality Leadership Alliance and an interview host for DEI Advisors. You are also in my hometown of Atlanta, and I have 2 remarkable daughters.
Hi, good morning. I'm Jenna Panagopoulos. I'm a director on the Luxury and Lifestyle Development team at IHG, Intercontinental Hotels Group. I'm based here in Atlanta at our America's headquarters, and I also have two lovely girls.
Very good. So my name is Chantal Wu. I am Vice President, Investment and Development for AHLA Hotels. We are a hotel owner, developer, and operator of 35 hotels in the Southeast. I live in Atlanta as well, and happy to be here.
Great. So, and I'm Andrea Belfonte, CEO of the International Society of Hospitality Consultants, and I'm also here in Atlanta. This is amazing. I love it. Atlanta's strong. So this is actually the first time we've done a Castell College, not only here at Hunter, but at a conference in general. Can you guys hear me? Am I okay? And so we're really excited to have students from many different schools. Typically it's one school. In fact, Castell College this year is going to do 76 programs at colleges and universities. So we're really excited to be here with multiple schools. One of the goals of Castell College is to help you all understand all of the different types of careers that are available in hospitality. So you'd have to go to school for 8+ years to learn about all of them, so we're gonna do it in 52 minutes. So I'd love to hear a little bit about what you do and your career path and how you got there. So let's talk about kind of, you're all doing something very different. And Jenna, I'm gonna start with you.
Sure. So I sit on the team, the development team at IHG. We're a branding company, one of the largest in the world. And the team I sit on, we're responsible for growing our hotel portfolio and the number of hotels in our brands. So that means I'm out each day in different markets, meeting with potential owners, consultants, and assessing potential deals and whether they'd be a good fit for us and if IHG would be a good brand for the owner. How I got here, I started off in third-party operations, not operations, but on the business development team for a third-party manager. I was there for 4 years, got promoted once. I was a senior financial analyst, which still to this day, I don't know that that title's the right one, but I feel very proud saying it. Was ready for something new, did a very small stint in multifamily where I very, very quickly realized that my love for real estate was exclusive to hotels because hotels were fun and hospitality was my background. So I actually left that job without having anything lined up because I knew it wasn't the right fit. And a month later, somebody who's sitting in this room was working at IHG. I reached out and said, do you have any positions available? Got a role on the feasibility team, was there for 1 year, and then moved into development. And I've been in development now for 7 years, been promoted 3 times while I've been at IHG, and worked on all of our upscale and luxury brands.
Great. Do you want to say who's in the room?
Yeah, Jim Anhut.
Can we get a spotlight on Jim Anhut?
Yeah. So he was, I went to Michigan State University, as I don't know if I actually said that. He's now with Michigan State University, but it's important to keep your alma mater connections because they're very, very important. So.
That's right. And I think, and Jim can correct me if I'm wrong, when I was at IHG many years before that, there was one woman on the development team.
Oh, we have a lot more now.
And now, I mean, it's amazing. I love to see this change.
We're mostly women, actually. It's pretty incredible.
Awesome. And that's why IHG is doing so well. We'll move on. All right, Chantal, I'm going to go to you next.
Yeah, sure. So I work for AHLA Hotels on the real estate team. So my main responsibility include sourcing and underwriting acquisition targets. I also evaluate land parcels for our ground-up developments. I also asset manage our portfolio of 35 hotels in terms of evaluating disposition and conversion opportunities within the portfolio. We also have non-hospitality assets, which includes 100,000 square feet of office space, as well as some retail amenities. So it's kind of a different job scope every day, but definitely enjoy where I am now. So I also used to work at the companies that Jenna used to work for, because we're all in Atlanta, and there are just a couple of these good companies out here. So before AHLA, I was with Davidson Hotels, which is a third-party management company. I was on the corporate operations side, really supporting the field ops folks as well as the hotels. I was reporting up to our SVP of accounting, but then had a dotted line reporting relationship to our COO. And then before that, I was with IHG on the investment analysis team, and Jenna and I overlapped for about a year. So it was a fun experience. Just, we had a pretty tight-knit team. Yeah. So
Chantal was also my manager, so she's being very modest here, but yeah.
yeah, so it was a good experience. I was underwriting upscale brands, Intercon, Crown Plaza, Hotel Indigos, and even hotels. And then prior to IHG, I lived in Boston working for PKF, which is now part of CBRE Hotels. I was doing feasibility studies, appraisals, impact studies for all sorts of leisure assets, hotels, resorts, golf courses, spas, everything. So that was a good, foundation for me for what I do in the real estate side right now.
Great. All right, Rachel, I love your story. So
Well, I think one of the incredible things about the hospitality industry is you can choose any career that you want and then pick hospitality as your industry. And I think that's really evident from everybody in the room, but also sitting up here. I'm going to go in reverse order and start. I started off as a trial attorney. I spent 20 years representing small to mid-sized businesses, a lot of hotels, a lot of restaurants. Got to a point where that was not my passion anymore. I then went and spent 7 years with a trade association in the hospitality space. I retired about 1.5 years ago. And now I spend my time as a passionate volunteer advocate for elevating women in hospitality through 2 organizations, some board service and conference speaking. But day to day, I have, other than my retirement life, which is incredible, I have the distinct pleasure of facilitating communication among 29 incredible organizations, all committed to elevating women in hospitality. I'm going to shameless plug WHLalliance.org, not because it benefits me, but it will benefit all of you. There are incredible resources out there from those 29 organizations that have incredible leadership, many of whom are in the room. And then also DEI Advisors, which was the brainchild of David Kong, the now retired CEO of Best Western. He and Dorothy Dowling and Lan Elliott and I get a chance to interview industry leaders talking about their incredible paths to leadership and the lessons they have learned along the way. And those are all available barrier-free as well. So in this chapter, really just getting to spend my time doing something that feels incredible.
So I'm going to make a correction. I'm going to correct you this time.
Okay, please do.
The Industry Trade Association that she just casually mentioned is AHLA, which is, of course, represents the largest hotel ownership group in the world, I believe, maybe somewhere around the world. Yeah. And she was for over a year the interim CEO of that organization. So I just went to work for a little trade association.
I didn't say a little trade association.
That's, you implied it, but yeah, really amazing career journey. And Alana, tell us how you ended up where you are.
Sure. So my path was through the lens of wellness. I started my career in the spa industry, fell in love with hospitality. In my early 20s, I founded a company with an amazing business partner, a woman named Christina Stratton, and we built a spa development and management company and grew that for 17 years. And we created a vertically integrated wellness platform where we not only provided spa management and development services, but integrated relationships with product brands and partners as well as technology. And the company I work for today as president of Spa Space used to be our competitor. So my path was actually through more of an entrepreneurial path. And then has now lent itself to working with some of the most prestigious and fascinating brands. What I do on a day-to-day basis now is I'm able to take that unique lens that was built over the path of my career and really explore wellness innovations, programming, how we activate those throughout our portfolio, whether that is in the luxury hotel, real estate, commercial, pools, residential segments. We're activating wellness, activating spaces, and unlocking, connecting the people with spaces with wellness. So I feel very, very privileged and honored to be able to bring wellness to specifically the hospitality industry.
You've got some good energy on this stage. I feel like when you talk, we're all like, okay. All right, it's gonna be okay. So I'm going to share just a little bit about my journey because it's so different from yours that I think, so I went to hospitality school, University of South Carolina, go Gamecocks, and I specialized in private club management, so I started in clubs, primarily in the event space. Then I did events at an art museum here in Atlanta, the High Museum. So I was really on the events side. Then I went to IHG and did global events for the development team, and did really great events all over the world, which was phenomenal. And then the Great Recession hit. That ended very sharply. And then I ended up at ISHC, which is combined kind of events. We do membership, marketing, all the things I loved about private clubs, because we do have this great membership part, and events, and it's all in one, and I get to spend a lot of time in the hospitality industry. So kind of an operations into non-operations, so very different path than we all have had. So, Chantel, you told us a little bit about your story, or your kind of path. I'd love to hear a little bit about, I hear you have a great story about job hunting and interviewing. So let's hear it.
Definitely. So I'm going to share a story about my first job after I received my master's degree. Not about how I got it, but then kind of how I ended up going there. So I graduated with my master's degree in 2010. As you know, it's not the best time or best year to graduate. I was, I guess, very lucky to have landed a job offer through on-campus recruiting. But then when I actually got the offer, I was like, wow, I can't believe this is how much I'll be making. I was really surprised because the number was about 10% below what my first job out of college was. So that was kind of, as you know, a surprise, because I felt like, theoretically speaking, I have another degree now. I have a master's degree. I should be making more. And then, you know, I understand there's, you know, some cost of living adjustments here and there. But then, you know, I was like, maybe I should try negotiating. And that's exactly what I did. So I asked very politely of the employer that, you know, I feel like I have a master's degree now, and then this is a great job offer. I really want to work for you. But then, you know, is there anything better that you could do on the compensation side? And I didn't really specify an amount, but I just really wanted to kind of express that because, you know, I kind of had my other job out of college as the benchmark, and I explained that to them. And at the end of the day, they were able to give me a small increase just by me asking. So I guess the moral of the story is that, you know, it never hurts to ask.
That's incredible.
I would say it also not only never hurts to ask, but you really should ask, especially if you know your value and you know you're not being, you weren't trying to be greedy, you weren't trying to ask for too much, you were asking for what's fair.
Yeah, and then I'm not suggesting that, you know, everyone out there should be negotiating for every single job that they do, but, you know, if you have legit reason that, you know, you have, maybe you've done some research on the internet, especially nowadays with, you know, Glassdoor or whatever other websites that you can readily find information readily available about compensation and all that. So you should use that as your benchmark. And also, you know, you can talk to your peers. Your you know, pretty much entry-level type jobs should be compensated very similarly. So if you talk to your peers, you can get some benchmarks there. And at the end of the day, you know, especially after I became a people manager, I realized men probably negotiate more than women in general. So just for the women out there, again, you don't necessarily have to negotiate every single time. But then, again, if there's a situation, if there's a situation that really warrants the opportunity, do it.
Yeah. So, Rachel, you mentioned your kids, and I love hearing you have some really great boundaries around your kids, around your family time, and you know it's not always easy. But your kids are a little older now. That I'm guessing that wasn't always the case. That you had to learn some of those lessons. So tell us what it was like when your career changed. How did your career change when you first had a family?
First of all, I could talk about this all day, and I only now, I think, because in retirement, in hindsight, my daughters are 22 and 17, and I get to reflect and say, you know what, I've had two incredible careers, and I have two incredible daughters. So all of the failures that I beat myself up over, all of the guilt, all of the other things, feels now in hindsight like incredibly wasted energy, because I get the benefit of seeing, I mean, they may say I've screwed them up forever, but I think I've done a pretty good job. And so now is a really exciting time to think more about it for me. I mean, I think, how did it change? You know, I went from being somebody who had only one focus, and I think my husband and I would both agree to that, to literally overnight being responsible for another human being's life. And you prioritize things differently, and at the time as a trial lawyer, you know, the court had a lot of control over my schedule. I didn't have a lot of control over it. We didn't have family. We don't have family here, so we didn't have, you know, kind of that backup support system. But I think for me, it's really that it's been a learning curve, and it changes depending on their ages, their needs, my age, my employers. But I've always said, you don't know me, but I'm gonna get everything done to the 100th degree, but there are certain things that I need. I wanna be at swim meets and tennis, but I don't need to be at cupcake decorating for Valentine's Day, which I thought I did for like the first 5 years, and then they wouldn't pay attention to me, and I'd cry the whole way back to the office, like, why didn't they want me to help decorate their cupcake? And so you figure out over time what matters to them, what matters to us. And for every family, it's different. I recently finished the Viola Davis autobiography, and she says that the freeing point in her life was when she realized that her parents did the best they could when they did with what they had. And I think that that really resonated for me. We're all doing the best we can every day for us, and my decision might be different. And honestly, we're all dealing with work life, and that means different things. Lots of people who don't have children are also trying to have a life outside. And so just trying to figure out day by day what makes sense for your family. You know, the boundaries you talk about, spring break is non-negotiable for me. At every job I've ever had, no matter the timing of it, that is the 1 week that we spend as a family always. There are times I've said no to traveling or to other things because there was something at home that I didn't want to miss. And that's hard. It's hard to say, you know what, this is what my priority is today. I have not done a good job. It's been super messy. When you ask about how your career changed, I went to court in 2 different color high heels more than one time. I went with like baby throw up on the back of my jacket because no one told me I had baby throw up on the back of my jacket until I got into court, and they're like, you got a little baby throw up there. So I mean, it changes in every way you can. And I just want to say, it's a great question, but no one ever asked my husband how his career changed when we had children, and no one ever asked him why he travels as much as he does. And so the societal pressure, I think, that we feel as women to do that. And he's a great dad, and we are by co-parents in every sense of the way. But I think that there's just so much pressure on each of us that you just gotta take a deep breath and know you're doing what's best for you and your family. And there's lots of perks. Like, we have financial security. I get to retire now. I've had the childcare I wanted, the education I've wanted for my kids. They're going to college. So we couldn't have done that if we both weren't working, but I've had an incredibly satisfying couple of careers. And so you can do it, you just gotta figure it out on your own.
I think what you said, I don't have children, and I think what you said is those problems persist, whether you have kids or not. I think as women, we tend to take on more and be expected to do more and be constantly available, whether we have kids or not. And I think, it's to find those priorities and then stick to them is a really, really hard thing to do, but extremely valuable. Yeah. All right, so Ilana.
Yeah.
I picture the spa space as no one ever being mean, voices are calm at all times, right? You're like, right this way. Maybe you could have
kind of like just a duck gliding.
That's right.
Across the water.
But underneath it's chaos. Yes. So I'm guessing it's not that way. So tell us about a time when you received some criticism.
Sure. Yes, all the time. No,
I don't believe that.
No, I'm a big believer in being obsessed with continuous improvement, and I don't think that will ever change for me personally. But the toughest criticism is criticism that rocks your sense of belief of who you are. That's the toughest criticism. And so I'll tell you a story of when I was when I was young in leadership. I had already been a spa director. I worked with wonderful brands, Omni Grove Park Inn Resort and Hotel, and Noble House Hotels and Resorts. But I was now in the entrepreneurial world, and my business partner and I were building this amazing spa management company. And I believe at this time we had about maybe 8 or 10 locations, so we were still small, but we were large enough to start putting into practice more corporate policies and procedures. Although we were still a flat organization, we were at a scale that we really needed to start thinking more about people development and kind of that human resource culture side of things. So we decided to put in 360-degree reviews. And I don't know if you've had the pleasure of participating in a 360-degree review, but if you have, and if you have, just raise your hand. Okay. If you have, you know what I'm about to say, and if you haven't, you will soon. When you are a leader and you receive your first 360-degree review, it is really tough because it shakes the core, especially as a younger leader, it shakes the core of who you believed that you were, and it cuts right to the core of what you're failing at. And so for me, the toughest criticism I ever received was that first, I think it was like 2009, 360-degree review, because I learned all sorts of things about myself that I didn't realize, right? I had behaviors and I had tendencies that were communicating the opposite of what I wanted to. And I learned that people, at that time, my team, were not feeling seen or heard enough by me. And that rocked me to my core as somebody who thought, gosh, I really care about people. Ooh, 360 review? Not coming through. So that was the toughest and will always be the toughest. Now it's different kinds of criticism and different kind of tough evaluations. But again, I think if you're open to it and you can take from it and realize that this is just a path of continuous improvement, all of it is a gift.
Yeah. And so would you say, so you got that, it crushed you, and then you became a better leader?
Oh, of course, right. I mean, I hope. The great news is this, as the years went on, I knew what to expect, right? Because I think the key of great leadership is really knowing yourself, right? You have to know yourself. And so I think now, 360 reviews, I'm not surprised, right? I'm not finding new things I haven't heard before. It's just a matter of now, okay, bringing attention back to that trait or that behavior, that tendency, that piece of me that I'm working on, because it's all about personal improvement to be a better leader.
All right, so Jenna, we talked about how IHG, or not just IHG, because IHG is a wonderful company, but how a lot of the development space can be male-dominated. Can you tell us about a situation that was maybe more challenging for you as a woman than for your male colleagues?
Yeah, I'm happy to, and I'll start with a backstory. And we're gonna go real deep because if you know me, I'm an open book. So 6 months into my first job, right out of college, I was fortunate enough to have secured a job. I went through a spiritual transition, and I started wearing a hijab, and so if you don't know what that is, it's a headscarf, and I was the only person, by the way, ever at these conferences in one. So, and then I had put up some boundaries, so I wasn't drinking, I still don't drink, and that surprisingly was a challenge, especially early on in my career, because I was in teams of all men. Our analyst pool, we were all just out of college living in Memphis. Nobody had friends, we worked a lot, so they were my only friends. And once I put up that boundary of not drinking and maybe not going to bars late at night, it made it hard for me to really build camaraderie with them, because the calls stopped coming in, right? Nobody wants to hang out with somebody who's like sitting there and they're 4 drinks in watching the game, and I don't even watch sports, so so that was a challenge. And then also wearing a hijab is just different, I think, for a lot of people. People often would come up to me and say, "Oh my gosh, your English is so good," and I would say, we speak English in Detroit, just so you know. And so that was a challenge. Now fast forward to where I am today, and I'm on kind of more like a client owner facing role. when I go out to eat at night for dinners, the clients are always like, oh, you first. And I say, no, please you first, because the moment I say, can I have a mocktail list, everybody's like, oh, this girl. So I try, and people just get really uncomfortable. It never bothers me. Everybody else is usually a little awkward about it, but it's not bad. There's actually a number of people on my team who choose not to drink at business engagements or don't for other personal reasons. But there was one time in my career when I was wearing a hijab, and I was having a dinner with a consultant and my boss, and I had just joined development. And the consultant said, listen, we've got a great site for you guys, but I don't want, before I introduce you to the family that owns the site, Jenna, would you consider not coming to the meeting? Could you sit this one out, or could you take off your hijab? And I think I was so stunned that had been said to me. Luckily, I had the most incredible manager sitting next to me who said, we don't want to do business with people like that, so never mind. Let's find something else. But so it has been a challenge. It's something that I probably knew would be a challenge, but here I am. So
when you're in it, yeah, and here you are.
Yeah, and there's different tools in your toolbox that you can lean on to help network and build relationships outside of that.
Yeah, because it doesn't have to be a hijab or not drinking. It can be that you don't want to talk about this specific subject, or you feel uncomfortable when someone says something about this. It doesn't have to be as visual and as right there. It can be lots of things that kind of women often feel othered by, right?
Yep.
Okay, so on the little handout you guys got when you came in, I saw it for the first time when I walked in, and it said, get to ask your questions. So we have a ton more questions here, but I realize we have 27 minutes and 13 seconds left. So I would love to pause real quick, if it's all right with you guys. We're gonna go off script and pause for a quick round of questions. We're gonna talk about male allies. We're gonna talk about networking. Nothing? I mean, we'll keep going. Okay, we've got a question over here.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Brooklyn Tucker, freshman international business campus with the Mary Sorensen Center at Howard University. And my question is just for you guys, any advice you can give to me and other women in the room for when you're in those male-dominant spaces and your voice is like overheard, or you're just not as respected, and how you can gain.
On how you can just like gain your voice back.
So for those of you online, how can, in male-dominated situations, how can you make sure your voice is heard? How can you get your voice back? How can you have a say in what's happening? Anybody feel really passionate about this and want to jump in?
I'll jump in.
Alana.
Okay.
Yeah.
So although the spa industry is predominantly female, when we're doing deals, I'm typically in a room with all men. And early in my career, I will tell you, you will be underestimated, period. You will be in that room, and although you're working on a deal or making a presentation or whatever it might be, what you're really doing is negotiating for your credibility. That's what you're doing. And I found that no matter how hard I tried, there were times when I just couldn't turn that dial to gain the credibility that I needed. And there are different ways and avenues that you can bring in different resources to get that. One of the strategies that I used was using a male ally. I intentionally hired a male vice president of operations, and I brought him to every single sales presentation, even though he was ops, and I brought him into most of our important board meetings. And if we weren't known, he would start the conversation, and everyone would look to him to start the conversation. He was the CEO of our spa management company. And then he would start redirecting the conversation to me. And so I leveraged his credibility to help lend credibility. The other thing that I found useful was with my business partner, who's female, we took different roles, right? So when we were in a room together, maybe 8 to 10, 12 men, she would be what it's not the right thing to say, I suppose, but people have preconceived perceptions, and they will. And so you have to read your room. Some boardrooms are going to be different feeling and energy and tone and tenor and dress, everything, and others are different. And so in reading the room, what her and I did together is she would take the role of, passionate and very pleasant and very effervescent and be the female role, if you will, that what was expected as spa people, right? Because that's what we were coming in. And then I would come in and I would build credibility with the financials and the operational best practices. So in saying that, I think you going in expecting to change the minds and perceptions of people may not be the path that gets you the thing that you need and want, which might be the deal or the contract, but leveraging the different resources that you have at your disposal to play to the room, whether that's using a male ally or using a buddy, where you can play off each other's strengths to build that credibility, because you're in a negotiation for your credibility.
I was cold a few minutes ago. I think this room's a little chilly. That got me real fired up. I'm warmer now.
Okay.
I'm like, whew, because it stinks that you have to do that, right? It stinks that you have to strategize and come up with how to be heard. I'll say I heard something recently. So a woman was saying that her name was often mispronounced. And oftentimes when she's in a board meeting or in a meeting, it's typically the men that aren't paying attention to that everyone else is pronouncing it correctly. And I don't actually mean, I think there's so many amazing men, and we're going to talk about male allies in a minute, but that's, I think, a female characteristic that we pay attention, right? We want to make sure. And the advice that she gave was, I used to say something like, please don't take this the wrong way, and I hope this doesn't rub you the wrong way, or I'm so sorry, but would you mind saying my name? It's Andrea, not Andrea, whatever her name was, right? And the advice was, don't apologize, don't feel bad. It was just, it's Andrea, and then smile. That's the sentence, period, full stop, and then smile. Because you don't actually want to piss people off, and we allow space for good intentions, but there's something to be said for, I'm going to say this, and I need you to hear me, and I'm not going to apologize for it. I'm not going to couch it. I'm not going to give you a whole bunch of like, hey, if you wouldn't mind, I've been trying to say this for a few minutes. I'm going to say it. I'm going to end it with a period, and then I'm going to smile. Like, I think there's real value in, especially in smaller conversations, not when you're not pitching a deal, stuff like that. Say it. And then I think there's a lot of real room for female allies as well, right? If you're in a room, if you're in a meeting, if you're in a room and your friend has said something 3 times and nobody's heard her, then say, hey, Joe, I don't know if you heard, but Alana just was making a point. It's not easy for Alana to do that, but I can do that for Alana, right? So I think there's a lot of valuable things, and we have to be keyed into that. All right, so we're going to keep going, and then I'll pause again in a few minutes. Rachel, I want to talk to you about male allies. So tell us how a male ally helps you.
Yeah. I think that part of the important conversation that we're having here is that you can't elevate women by just women helping other women. It's an industry-wide, it's a societal-wide initiative, and that means that for the women in the room, you want allies and champions that are male and female. And if you're a male in the room, there's lots of ways that you can help move the needle forward. I will credit a male ally with what I consider to be my second great chapter, my association chapter that Andrea referred to. And I don't think he's in here, but he signs the paychecks for a lot of people in here. So when I left the law firm life and decided to pivot to something different, I got hired by Chip Rogers, who's now the president and CEO of AHLA. And at the time, he was the president and CEO of AHLA. And they were looking for an entry-level franchise specialist. I was grossly overqualified. But I reached out to AHLA leadership and I said, hey, I have a really unique skill set that I think could be a huge value add for membership and for the association. And Chip created an incredible executive level job for me. He put me on his executive leadership team. It took a huge chance. I had never worked in a company. I had only been in a law firm before. And he saw that I had a skill to provide that would benefit the team and that would benefit the association. And shortly into that tenure, he actually encouraged me to apply for the Chief Operating Officer position that AHLA had open. And I said no many, many times. I Googled COO. I didn't even know what it meant. And I saw Kevin in here. I don't know if he's still in here, but I didn't know what that term meant. Law firms at the time didn't have it. And he kept saying, I think you would be great at this. I think AHLA would really benefit from this. And so after a lot of conversations, I finally accepted that opportunity. And then when he made the decision to leave for AHLA, he recommended me unequivocally to be the CEO of AHLA, and I was the first female CEO of the association. And he knew that I could not just hold down the fort, but really thrive in that environment. And my takeaway from that was really that his voice was louder than my own voice in my head, which was that I'm not qualified, I can't do it, I'll be a failure, the association will go under. All of the incredible head trash that I had at the time. But him seeing potential in me and knowing or seeing a skill set in me has directly impacted the trajectory that my career took, which now, by the way, those relationships opens the door for me to be able to advocate in the way that I am in retirement because of those relationships, because of the roles that I've had. I would just end that it didn't stop there. I interviewed him a couple of months ago for DEI Advisors, and I was saying, thank you for giving me the opportunity. And he actually stopped me right in the middle of the interview, and he said, I didn't give you anything. This is what I saw as your potential to add value to me, to the association. And that one word choice has really impacted me again the last couple months to say, I have to stop taking the credit away from me and giving it to other people. And I think that we all have great allies. A lot of us have great allies we don't even know that we have, which I also think is an incredible thing. But really looking across the industry at men and women to champion for us can really make a huge difference in our path.
That's great. Which leads me nicely into my next question, because that's, story about a male ally, it also touched on that imposter syndrome that I think a lot of us have. And I think it's really important to talk about, because I know when I was a student and I saw leaders panels, I thought, God, I can't wait till I'm there and I don't have to worry about all the things that I worry about now. Turns out they worry too. So Chantel, tell us about how your experience with imposter syndrome and kind of how you've overcome some of that.
Sure, yeah. So I want to share a story about my experience at the 100 conference last year. So I was invited to speak on a panel last year, and that was my first panel at a major hotel investment conference. So I was very excited about the opportunity. It was a Rising Stars panel, and then I got the invitation in December, so which meant I had basically a 3-month time leading up to the conference. But then as the conference dates approached, I just grew very, very doubtful about myself. Especially after we had kind of the pre-conference call with the panelists and the moderator, I realized everybody else on the panel, they worked for bigger companies, they had fancier titles, and then I was the oldest one on the panel, which again, this is a Rising Stars panel, so being the oldest is not necessarily the best thing. And then also I was the only woman on the panel. So I basically had to prepare a response for being a woman in a male-dominated field. Anyway, so I was not confident about why I got invited to this panel to begin with. And then, so I had prepared 2 pages of notes, and then I actually brought it to the conference, to the actual speaking session that morning. But at the end, I decided to leave my notes behind. And then I was just gonna, go about my content. And then it ended up being a great session. And then I think a couple of you here actually sat through my session last year. And then so I was able to, I guess, memorize a lot of my content. I forgot some of my points, but I still was able to probably convey 90% of the content or the points I wanted to share. And also was able to be spontaneous and then cracked a couple jokes. So I thought that was good. If I had my notes with me, probably I would just be reading everything from my notes, and then I wouldn't be as, on the, being spontaneous as I was without the notes. So again, I think advice to the students, how to overcome imposter syndrome. So first, I think, yes, you need to prepare, but then don't over-prepare. So yeah, I prepared, I had my notes, I memorized my content, so which was great, but then I didn't take my notes with me last minute, so I think that was good too. And also, it's okay not to be a perfectionist. And then, again, I forgot some of the stuff I wanted to say, but at the end of the day, if I didn't tell you now, who knew, right? Everybody only heard the stuff that I spoke about, and then they just didn't know anything about whatever other things that I was not going to say. But anyways, so it was a good experience. Yeah, that's kind of how I overcame imposter syndrome and AKA stage fright.
I love that. So prepare, and then take a deep breath and just do it.
Yeah.
Right? I like it. All right, so I'm going to pause again real quick for questions. All right, Crystal. Here, we've got a microphone coming so the folks online can hear us.
Hi guys, I'm Crystal from University of South Carolina, graduate student, go Gamecocks. Thank you guys for this great panels. My question is, as a millennial, and I see many millennials still in the school, going into a workforce with a mixed generation, what would be your advice for us going into workforce, like, I guess as the youngest generation, working with others?
Got it. Do you guys have a thought? Oh, there we go.
Oh, yeah. Chantal might remember this because I feel I'm also a millennial, and we got a really bad rep coming into the workforce. We were lazy, we wanted more PTO, we didn't want to work past certain times, and I was like, I did none of that, first of all, so I was very confused. But I think the one good thing that millennials and newer generations have is we're really flexible and understanding about different people. We're very inclusive, and so that can go upwards too. And understanding people, generations, their backgrounds, why they are the way they are, and just it helps get through certain moments because of that. So I would just say, be gentle with yourself, be gentle with others, and know that people's experiences and beliefs have probably shaped them that way, and it's also our duty to kind of help everybody expand their perspective, and it goes both ways. So that would be my 2 cents, is kind of it going both ways and helping them stretch and you stretching as well.
Yeah, I think communication and hard work is really key. So if you're butting up with someone maybe of a different generation, an open, hey, John, we've been, you set these expectations, can you let me know? You seem a little frustrated, whatever it is. I think there's real value in open, not aggressive, conversation. And then working hard, I think, to your point, I'm sure anyone that thought that millennials were lazy a couple weeks after working with you changed their mind pretty quickly, right? So I think there's value in working hard and communicating.
Can I add one thing too?
Please.
I think also, oftentimes, regardless of age, new eyes are the best eyes. So when you enter into a situation, you have a totally new diversity of thought that somebody else may not have had. And so being willing, you have been hired and selected for a team for a reason. And so to begin to share that perspective will bridge potentially any age gap because you're providing value. All leaders want their team to provide value because it helps everybody succeed. The other thing is, and I heard this, I don't know if Lan is still in here, but did an interview recently for DEI advisors, and I heard them say that try to find somebody that you can teach a new skill to as well. So if you have a mentor within the company, that mentor might learn a new skill from you. Everybody knows I have 0 technology skills at all. My cell phone is a cell phone, and that's about it. Don't ask me to pay my bills on it or check my insurance or anything else. But as a leader, I need to learn new skills, and I don't want to stereotype or generalize technology as the only one. Maybe it is inclusive discussions or other things. The conversations I have with my 22-year-old daughter now, I would love to have with coworkers because the world changes every day, and I can't keep up with every one of those changes. And so trying to find someone that you can blend with, hey, I have something to teach you, and you have something to teach me, and really finding kind of a mutual benefit through that path.
Yeah. And I think it's important to find companies that are open to relationships like that. All right, so we are at 9 minutes and 38 seconds. So we're entering into the speed round. All right,
okay.
Speed round. I want to talk about networking. We're at a conference. You guys have been networking. You're going to keep networking today. So I want advice. How do you network and be authentic to your personality type? Because not all of us are extroverts. How do you follow up? How do you make the most of your network? These are a lot of questions. You don't have to answer all of them, and we'll kind of go quickly. And Alana, I'm just going to start with you.
Sure. So I would not call myself the best networker. I think that's an area of opportunity. However, I have learned to love networking events because mentally I treat them like an interview process. I find 2 or 3 people and I home in on them, and I want to learn every possible thing I can about them. So even though I'm not meeting 50 people at an event, I might meet 7 or 8 over the course of a few days, but I've really met them and I really know them and I've created a relationship with them. So I treat networking, I want to get narrow and deep with somebody.
That's great. I love it.
Yeah.
Rachel is, by the way, scared to death of networking.
I am. Well, I'm not scared of it. I'm well aware that I don't want to do it.
All right, so
I would rather lock myself in the stall in the bathroom than go to a room full of people I don't know. And that is I have certainly done that many times too, more in my lawyer life than in this one. But I also have an incredible network of hospitality industry people. And so what I've realized is that happened without my intentionally setting out to do it. I really care a lot about people. I want to know about your kids. I want to know where you vacationed for spring break. I want to know what books you've read, what sports teams you root for. And through those things, I rarely talk business with people. I never go to people to ask for things. I end just about every conversation with, is there anything I can do to help you? Or if I can ever be of help to you, I hope you'll reach out to me. And then kind of my trademark pre-pandemic was a handwritten note. I wrote a note to every single person I met, even if just for a minute. I wrote them every time I saw them. I say pre-pandemic because then people stopped going into their office, and now, literally a couple months ago, I got a text from someone saying, hey, I had 2 notes waiting from you when I finally went back to my office today. What a delight. And so that was kind of my trademark, where people remember me because nobody wrote a note anymore. I can tell you just from sitting in this room, I met Crystal at a conference recently, and now we're friends. I met Cameron yesterday. We're best friends now. She doesn't know it yet, but we are. And so just by getting a chance, and that was just sitting on a couch, and she overheard something, we started talking, just really getting to know people and not doing it for what can I take away from this from a business advantage. Those things I think all come when you build the relationships that are genuine.
yeah, I love that.
I'm also a bathroom hideout type of person.
I think I might have seen you.
That's where we hang out. I would say, one, I have found taking a buddy into large events. So I really don't like large groups of people. And it's not just professionally. I don't like concerts. It's just weddings. I'm always on the wall. And last night, if anybody was at the IHG event, I was on the outskirt of that event. And, I would see somebody and wave, and I would hope that they'd come to me. But I do much better one-on-one and interpersonal relationships. So the one piece of advice I could say is having 1 or 2 people that you know are going to be there, finding them out, and having that plan helps me kind of calm my nerves.
Agree, 100% agree. Chantel, what's your networking advice?
Sure. So I feel like I'm a little bit better in terms of hiding out or something. But anyways, when I was in my 20s, it was intimidating for me as well, because I felt like, I was kind of doing an entry-level role, and then people, if I go to these type of things, people wouldn't take me seriously, right? But then I realized when I started networking when I was in my 30s, and then people were still not taking me seriously because I still looked young. So it didn't matter anyway. So I figured, why not just do it? There are always going to be people who you connect with, but there are always going to be people who you don't connect with. And that's completely fine. Not everyone's going to like you, and then you just have to accept that. So again, I feel like I've been doing this for like 8-9 years now. So it just, it could be intimidating, but then if you really have an open mind going into it, then just embrace that.
Yeah, I like the perspective of, instead of what can I get out of this, what deals, who's got something for me, but you said, Alana, who can I get to know?
Yeah.
And Rachel, you said, what can I do for you? So that kind of mental shift, I think, is really nice as well. All right.
Just really quickly too, I think follow-up is really important, whether it's connecting on LinkedIn or sending a note, or if you get a conference attendee list, look and see who's coming and say, oh, I remember I met Andrea at Alice, maybe she has a second to grab coffee, or these are the people that, like you say, I want to make sure that I see to say hello. I describe myself like baby food. You gotta meet me like 10 times and then I really like you. And that's going back to the parenting thing. But I think that for me, the frequency of contact, whether it's, I know that last week was spring break, so people that I know who do really cool things, I'm like, hey, what'd you do for spring break? I may not have seen them in a year or two, but I know that that's their love language, is what they've done with their kids that week. Or if someone's team wins, like, oh, that was a great win last night. I didn't watch the game, but I know that they care a lot about it. Or, you know, where they went to school during March Madness or something. And so I think that there's a way of staying in touch that keeps you on people's radar that can really deepen relationships as well.
That's not just asking them for something, right? All right, so more questions from the audience.
Questions, yeah.
Yep.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Sky Saxon. I'm a Howard University student with the Marriott Sorensen Center for Hospitality Leadership. And my question was, how would you recommend a student go about finding somebody in the industry to help mentor them or give them advice and just developing a genuine connection?
I mean, you have the wonderful and amazing Ashley Johnson, so go to her. But for the rest of you, we can talk. Yeah, what do you guys think? How do you recommend they find someone? Yeah.
I think just staying close to your university, I've had 2 really incredible mentors through Michigan State. One was formally given to me when I was in undergrad, and then one was, I guess, kind of fell into it. But I actually have had, one of my bosses was an incredible mentor. So I have found mine a little bit more organically. But then the other thing is being a woman, you know, looking for somebody who's had a similar career path but is a few years in front of you, and just reaching out. I think actually this week I did that, and you know, it was pretty successful, but it was targeted. Like, I found her, looked her up, cold called her, and now she's my friend, so.
Anyone else? I would say, you know, as someone, like, mentor-mentee relationship can feel a little overwhelming to me, and I'm like, what does that mean? And do we have, like, set points, and am I expected to, like, give you something great? Or, you know, so I think there's something about developing relationships. All of us up here at the conference, developing relationships and having a network of people that you can say, hey, I'm interested in this job, or I'm thinking about this as a career path, or I'm whatever it is, and being able to talk to different people. And then to Jenna's point, that can organically grow into, because I don't know about you guys, but, like, will you be my mentor? I would be like, I don't know, what does that mean? I think you may want to, I don't know, what me? No. So I think developing those authentic relationships of people that are kind of your counsel and that you can go to is really valuable. Yeah, and I don't know if that helps, but hopefully. All right, yep. This is
my life. Okay, quick comment. I was on a panel earlier this week. 28-year-old, very successful entrepreneur made a really profound statement about your question. Nobody is going to turn you down as a college student or a grad student when you pick up the phone and call them. Nobody will turn you down. Now, 2 years from now, when you're done, they will turn you down because they think you want something. But right now, they're not going to turn you down. Pick up the phone and call somebody.
That's such a good point. Jim, that's such a good point. Yeah, you guys are in such an amazing position in that everyone at this conference wants to talk to you, right? They may not want to talk to me. They may not want to talk to all of us. I mean, they want to talk to us, but you know, you're not trying to get money from them. Like, students, people want to talk to you. So you can go up at the networking receptions and be like, I'm a student. Hey, and they're going to be, oh, this is exciting. Where are you from? What do you do? What do you want to do? So you are in a great spot.
I actually have a great story just yesterday, actually, with your team. When Ashley introduced Jeff Bellotti, who's the CEO of Wyndham, to you, he spent a lot of time talking and giving advice and sharing things, and he's got a really big job and a lot of people to talk to here, but he wanted to spend time sharing advice with you all. And I think that, like, a place like this is great. And you don't just need one mentor, you need a whole group of people, because you may have different questions for different people. Yeah. How do you public speak, or where do I go to look for a job, or what type of fields are there? And so if you limit yourself to, like, an official mentor-mentee, I think it might feel more like a job or a to-do list on your task. But if you build this great network of people you can go to when you need different guidance for different things, then you'll really find that you will advance much faster.
Yep. So we're at time. We're here. I know there's lots of stuff we didn't get to. Hopefully more questions from you guys. So we're here. Please ask us questions, connect with us on LinkedIn, and let us know how we can help and support you. And thank you for coming. I know it's early.
Thank you all so much for joining us this morning. It was an incredible panel and discussion. Just a few housekeeping items that I think you'll all be interested in. First of all, there are free headshots available. So if you are in the market for a headshot, please head up to the Atrium Lounge, to the Atrium level, the Innovation Lounge. Those are available until 5 o'clock today and between 8 and 5 tomorrow. Also, Sheila Johnson is keynote speaker today, and after the presentation, she is meeting with students at 1 p.m. Also in the Innovation Lounge. So it's a great opportunity for you to meet her. She's with the Salamander Resort, and I encourage you to take advantage of that opportunity. And last, I would just like to invite you to our Women in Hospitality reception, which is this evening from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. Again, hopefully many of these women will be with us this evening, as well as a host of other women in the industry, and we would love to see you there tonight. So thank you again for coming, and hope to see you around the conference.